Oh, top of the morning to you. How's the form? Whoa. Sorry, what are you doing? What you mean? I'm just introducing your man Brendan to the show. Why are you doing that corny Irish accent? What you mean corny? What, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, let me please. May I? Brendan McNamara began his career on stage and screen, playing roles as a young actor in very Irish films like The War of the Buttons and Angela's Ashes, and studying theatre and performance at the prestigious Trinity College in Dublin, Ireland, before pivoting to behind the camera, earning his stripes as an assistant at Hubbard Casting, where he worked on projects like Taggart, The Bourne Supremacy, Churchill, and Omagh. After freelancing across advertising, music videos, and television, he launched his own casting agency, Beach Casting, in 2007, a London-based casting agency specializing in film, TV commercials, music videos, and more. And I have been invited myself to that casting studio for many an audition. Over the last 2 decades, Brendan has earned industry recognition, including CDA awards and a D&AD wooden pencil for casting work on indie features like Svengali, Treacle Jr., The Fitzroy, Ultramains, and global campaigns for HSBC, Heineken, Samsung, Boots, Very, and Channel 4's Great British Bake Off. Today's conversation digs deep into his journey from acting to casting, what he learned from being on the other side, how he built a reputation for spotting and nurturing talent, and what he learned most once he stepped into the casting director chair. Plus, you'll hear stories from castings large and small, and tips that actors won't want to miss. So prepare yourselves for a bit of good crack. What did I tell you? Oh, tis grand this. You sound like a deranged leprechaun. What you talking about there? I'm always prepared to talk about
I know.
my health.
Your health.
All right. I would like to start doing my podcast now, if you don't mind.
Okay, well then do it.
May I?
You may.
Then it's done. Here we go. The Offstage Acting Podcast is back.
Hello. Welcome.
Welcome to everyone. We're really happy to have you with us, aren't we?
We are, and maybe it's the sun, but we're actually happy.
Sun's out, fun's out.
That's exactly right.
Perfect timing for the Offstage Acting Podcast with myself, Todd Kramer, and my sidekick, Jay Riem. There he is.
There you are.
Sun's out, fun's out.
Sun's out, fun's out, and it's like sunny and beautiful. I'm dressed in a tank top, or as people in the UK would say, vest, which is wrong. And I have my sunnies for fashion.
You really thrive in the sun, don't you?
Bro.
For a guy from Seattle.
Love the sun.
Yeah.
My dad is the same. We are both sun. We're like sun boys. We love it.
Sun boys.
We're sun boys.
It's unique, and it's actually because here's what happens in the UK, of course, is when the sun comes out for like 3 days, then all of a sudden
everyone freaks.
There's just like when a flake of snow falls on the ground, it's like everybody freaks out, like it's Armageddon. Yeah. So by now, it's 3:00 in the afternoon here. It's about 23 degrees Celsius outside.
Oh, is it really that warm?
Yeah. Maybe a little warmer, which in Fahrenheit terms is maybe like, what's that, about 77, 78?
23 times 2 is 46, plus 32 is 78 minus...
Yeah, anyway. Essentially, everybody at this point is burnt to a crisp.
Yeah.
They're considering a hosepipe ban, which in
heat stroke.
In English speak is like, we got a water crisis. For some reason, a country full of water, an island surrounded by water, nothing but water, raining all the time, and then immediately,
and the elderly are dying.
The elderly are dying. There's a drought. Yeah. Nobody has AC in this country. Nobody knows that. All the every pair of jeans starts getting the cut off.
Well, people here have no internal temperature regulation. I swear to God.
No.
And it's just like a thing. Maybe
that's true. Why? That's true. They're just used to being, and they're praying for rain already. And it's just that everybody's so lily white. All the lily white flesh comes out. It's a beautiful thing.
The lily white flesh just comes out. The lily white flesh, Todd. Okay.
Well,
it's good. That's good. That's like the name of my new cannibal autobiography. The lily white flesh.
That sounds like a great name for maybe a drag queen.
Lily white flesh.
Speaking of lily white flesh, I just returned from
From Northern Ireland, but it was Derry. You returned from Derry.
Yeah, I was in Derry. I was in Derry. Like it was good crack there.
Spill the
It
tea.
was a bit of good crack.
Yes.
The trip was a bit planes, trains, and automobile-y.
Okay, so
like quite literally. Like, oh my God, it was really just to get. I had to drive my car to the station, then take the train up to Birmingham, which is a big schlep at 5 o'clock in the morning, then get on the plane, then land in Belfast, hire a car, then drive to Derry. Some people took a bus from Belfast to Derry. It was a whole thing.
Okay.
But I actually hired a car, and then I took like a lovely little route and enjoyed my time. It was beautiful.
Great.
Have you ever been to Northern
Yeah, I
Ireland?
biked the northern coast.
Did
northern
you?
Coast. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
I was in Belfast, and then it took 6 days. I went to Belfast and biked the northern coast.
So you did the did you go through like
the Giants
Bushmills to the Giants Causeway?
Oh, I stayed in Bushmills. I have a story, but
Did
it's
you?
a long one. So we
Okay.
do actually. You should ask me about it later. It is a story.
Okay, maybe we'll do that in a bonus round.
In a bonus ode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, did you get to Derry?
I didn't get to Derry.
I didn't. But the coast is gorgeous and all that. And
gorgeous.
Then,
the Northern Antrim coast.
Derry really impressed me. It's a beautiful town. Kind of very European, right on the river. It's a very artistic. I think they call it the first artistic town of the north, kind of thing. There.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. They got festivals going on, blues and jazz, and right now is
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And of course, right now in Ireland is what do they call it? The Bealtaine. Bealtaine.
Okay. You're welcome.
Oh boy, that's hard.
Okay,
Bealtaine.
so what does that mean?
That's like the summer fest, the beginning of summertime, and it's like a festival.
Oh, we love that.
Spirit and,
like similar to Beltane, but like in Irish Gaelic.
Maybe
instead. Never mind.
Did I say it wrong? I don't know.
But that's Beltane is Scotland.
Okay, so yeah, it's a Gaelic,
so it could be a similar
Celtic
thing.
Gaelic. Yeah, it's the festival. So anyway,
cool.
So there was a lot kind of going on, and I really loved the town and stuff. The event was tragic. There was some really.
The event was tragic?
I mean, for me, it was just like grueling. It was really hard to get through.
Was it just like in a boring way or in like
just in an organizational way? I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Did you think it could have been run better?
Wow, I'm just asking dinner was served. There was like the formal dinner was 7:30, and the first main course got served at 9:40.
Oh my god!
So that should give you some indication. Anyway.
Oh my gosh, your logistics brain probably was
we were all starving at that point,
and
and drunk because now we're just drinking, feeding off the wine on the table. They didn't even bother.
And then not even.
Roll.
You didn't even get Irish breakfast, isn't that? No.
No, I got an Irish coffee dinner? That night though.
Isn't it? No, but isn't it like Irish dinner's like just like Guinness? Am I thinking of something crazy? An Irish dinner is Guinness, right?
It's not all potatoes and Guinness in Ireland, but it is like boiled beef cheek and stuff.
Not that far.
I don't want to. We got to be careful about slagging off Ireland too much. You know why?
Why? Oh my gosh, I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah.
This is a great segue. I'm loving this. Yes, tell me why.
Right? Because we have a guest today.
Oh, and let me guess.
He's Irish. So we're on a big Irish theme here.
Okay,
he's
well
from
done.
The ROI, as it were. Dublin, I believe.
ROI, the Republic of Ireland.
Yeah, this is now. Be careful. You got to be. Don't want to get into too many gray areas here.
Oh yeah, my Northern Ireland story involves you this.
Making that sticking your foot in your mouth.
No.
Good.
No.
Good.
Again,
you were
so yes, the Republic of Ireland and the Northern Ireland are very, very different.
In politically speaking,
politically, there's a lot.
The people are very obviously similar. They're all
That's the
Irish.
We don't have to.
But anyway,
are we going to bring the guy in?
Well, first I want to explain to you who the guy is.
Fantastic.
I guess you've never. First of all, I'm surprised that you don't have an agent yet, but that's a whole nother subject. I thought you had an agent. You don't have an acting agent?
No.
How are you getting submitted? You're not submitting yourself? Are you submitting yourself through Spotlight?
No, I'm not. I've been in India. I've been doing.
I know you were looking for. Were you looking for a new agent?
I was. I've done emails and I've done searches, but they haven't proven fruitful.
And so you've never. Brendan McNamara, this is our guest, is a casting director. He's with Beach Casting.
Oh, okay.
Quite a little history there too. But what's unique about him and what's kind of great, as you know, like we do, we like to talk to actors who kind of do other things and things. And I asked him earlier, I was like, hey, can you send me, I said, do you have a Spotlight profile? And he goes, yeah. And he sends me his beach casting Spotlight. And I'm like, I don't think he understands that we've got him on under the spotlight as an actor.
Oh, I see.
And you know how I like to dig a little. Well, yeah, he went to theater school in Dublin. Okay. I'll let him tell all that stuff. And then he got into casting, being a casting director. He was working for a big agency. I'll let him talk about that as well. But so there's a trajectory there, right? He's from Limerick, actually. You know Limerick?
Yeah. I know a Limerick, and I know that there's a town called Limerick.
I don't want to hear your Limerick.
Okay, I'm sure our audiences can't either. This is a rated
I can tell
PG
you.
podcast.
Yeah, it is. All right.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. I can tell you.
Did that shut you up well enough?
I know a Limerick too. There once was a fellow from Grass. No, never mind. Okay. He worked for like Hubbard Casting and stuff like that. And then
beach casting.
Beach casting. Cool. So you've never gone in to see Brendan for anything? No. Okay. I got here in 2010. I think he started Beach in 2007. I've been seeing Brendan over the years. We've been off and on for years now. But he calls me in from time to time, and so I've known him for a long time. And he's great. He's great. He's because he's an actor. He's one of those. You know what I mean? He gets what it is that we need from our end.
Yeah.
So he's really good with like the instructions and like keeping you up to date and kind of forthcoming with whatever you need and helpful like that. So that's always brilliant when you have somebody that gets it from that perspective. But he himself also was an actor. Now, I did a little digging. I couldn't find his exact scene, but have you ever seen? Do you know the book Angela's Ashes?
Yes, I have heard of Angela's Ashes.
Frank McCourt. It was a bestseller.
Yeah. I don't know much about it, but yes, I do know.
I think it's probably about 25, 30 years old, actually, the book.
Yeah, it's a well-known title. Yeah.
It's his life story, Ireland, really grim, really like, I would say raw and honest and stuff. I read the book when it first came out. It was great. Then they made a movie with Bobby Carlyle and, and guess who's in the movie?
Oh my gosh, this guy here.
This guy here, Brendan. He's in this little movie. Now,
did you find a clip?
I found a clip. It's not him speaking, but let's go.
Let's check out.
We see him, so this would be. Here we go.
Shut up,
That's him. But he doesn't speak.
The lavatory, McCourt. Did you hear me?
He's sitting next to.
I did, Miss Barry.
You've been heard on the stairs, McCourt.
Yes, Miss Barry.
Shut up, McCourt.
I will, Miss Barry.
Not another word, McCourt.
No, Miss Barry.
I said shut up, McCourt.
All right, Miss Barry.
Look at that.
That's the end of it, McCourt. Don't try me.
I won't, Miss Barry.
Mother of God, give me patience.
Yes, Miss Barry.
She's gonna hit him.
There's
Take the last word, McCourt. Take it. Take it. Take it.
I will, Miss Barry.
And then I found one other thing, which is like really awesome. And I gotta get to it. He's in this thing called the Button. What was it? The Button Gang.
Limerick born casting.
We're always fighting.
Take aim.
Let's see. War of the Buttons. That's
They were
it.
great days.
And there is him in this little trailer. I'll show you.
Table here we can all get round for walk councils and that.
But what do we sit on? Our promise, what do you think?
Here, in the tree.
Gonna have to pee sometime and I know where I'll be.
Oh my gosh, child actor.
Yeah, I think that's him. I hope it is.
Those who can't
It's a
pay
cute little movie. I remember seeing that a long time ago. War of the Buttons. Anyway, so he's got a whole lot of acting experience from childhood, like youth.
Interesting.
Is that cool?
Youth.
And he's youth from his time as a youth.
Okay.
So
cool.
now that we've embarrassed him adequately, let's bring him on, shall we? Woo. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is for a bit of the crack, Brendan McNamara. All right, look at that, shaking his head. He's like, "Oh, I wasn't expecting that, you bastard!" Yeah.
I was not expecting that, I have to say. But thank you for a little trip down memory lane.
Yeah. How long's it been since you've seen that?
I
Probably
haven't
a
seen
while.
Angela's Ashes in a very long time. I'd seen More the Buttons we had a reunion about just maybe pre-COVID. We had a reunion.
Really?
Oh, that's cool.
Which was nice. Yeah, it was lots of fun actually.
That movie did really well. Like that was kind of a little, I don't want to say cult hit, but it certainly was a
Yeah, I think. I mean,
award
I
winner.
don't. Yeah, I don't. I was a child. I've no idea of the sales figures and whatnot. But yeah,
No,
it's
obviously.
much loved in Ireland, definitely. And
Yeah.
East Coast America did quite well.
Huh.
Obviously, the Irish community over there.
Yeah,
so,
Boston.
Yeah,
and
it's
stuff.
huge.
yeah. But
And-
yeah, long time.
How glad are you that your head finally grew into those ears?
Oh my God! I met
Todd.
at that reunion. I met Roz Hubbard, who I've known for years.
Oh,
She
yeah.
cast that and started me in the industry, and she said to me at the reunion, "Did you get your ears pinned back?"
Oh my God.
And I
mean-
just howled, So
It's
yeah.
sort of your look for the time. That was it. But
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
I'm
definitely.
sure it helped get you cast. As
Oh,
well.
100%, mate. I mean, quirky roles, 100%.
Yeah.
Oh,
With the-
all that kind. I mean, I was a starving, waif-looking child for Angela's Ashes.
yeah.
And then, I definitely looked like, if I myself was casting More of the Buttons, then a kid like me, I definitely would think, right, there's an interesting face. Let's
Yeah.
put them in the mix, because if you look at any casting of, a child gang, you've got the quirky, big-eared kid
Right.
with the bad teeth.
Alfalfa
Because,
From
yeah, exactly,
Little
100%.
Rascals. Yeah.
100%. And I also had literally the worst teeth you could imagine. Now, my teeth are okay now,
Yeah.
but as a child, my teeth were literally facing opposite directions.
Oh, wow.
And when I used to be able to close my mouth, and one could go behind and one could go in front of my bottom teeth. That's how bad it was.
Did you have braces?
I had braces, but I had to take the braces off early to do Angela's Ashes because I couldn't have braces in Angela's Ashes.
Yeah, right. Because they didn't have them back then. So.
They wanted the
So
wanted the teeth.
Man.
Well, they wanted the horrible, scary, as the Simpsons say, British teeth.
Yeah, the big book of British smiles. Yeah.
the British
It's my
book of
favorite.
teeth.
Wow, that's classic.
Yeah.
So walk us through a little bit of that since we're on the subject now. Child actor. I don't think we've had, first of all, we've never had an Irish person before, have we, Jay?
Well, you're
No,
welcome.
Yeah, so
Yes, thank you.
yeah, so we're grateful, obviously. Super grateful there. And then second of all, I don't think we had anybody that has the child acting experience. And we haven't had a casting director either, so wow, it's a triple.
Yeah, this is really great.
Yeah.
Good job, Todd.
I'm really proud of this. This is a good. So walk us through the child actor thing. How hard did your parents push you into this? How difficult?
So this is 1993. This happened.
Yeah.
I was 13 years of age. I was in 6th class, which is your last class before secondary school.
Right. It's like junior high for us in
Yeah.
America. Yeah.
And getting ready for confirmation. Might have made my confirmation, all that kind of stuff. It's
Mhm.
Ireland, so it's a very big year.
Yeah.
Confirmation is the Catholic thing, right?
It's the Catholic thing,
It's
yeah.
the Catholic,
Yeah.
like 13. like
And you
bar
get loads of
mitzvah.
money, which is what most people think about when you talk about
Right.
confirmation. So there's an advert. I'm from Limerick, so there was an advert in the Limerick Leader, and it was Hubbard Casting doing a David Putnam movie.
Oh, wow.
Warner Brothers, list of roles. If you feel you could fit any of these roles, come to an open audition at the old Limerick Savoy Theatre. And I basically mitched off school with two of my friends, Dermot Roach and Joe Galvin, and went in and did an open audition. And
What did that consist of?
I went in, and the first person I
To
met,
memorize something?
no, just queuing up for ages. There was hundreds of people there, as you can imagine, with an
Sure.
open audition.
Huh.
Yeah, in the 90s in Ireland.
And so there was various people that you went into. So the first person I met was Mary Maguire, who is an Irish casting director who worked with Roz Hubbard for years, and they're best friends and still are. And it was just a chat. It was just a chat about yourself, what you like doing. And I was always a bit ballsy, I think. I was never a shy child.
Right.
So, I explained, she asked, did I had any acting experience? And I talked about a play I'd done. I was like the lead in a school play where I played a fairy. And there was a song, which was, I have a halfpenny, a shiny little halfpenny. And I sang that for her and she just laughed. And that was it. I went home. You filled out a form. I went home and I think about 3 or 4 days later, we got a call to say, would I come do an audition? And that there's going to be dialogue and stuff. So it was still in Limerick. So down I went to the old Jury's Hotel in Limerick. And first person I met was Amy Hubbard. And Amy sat me down and worked the dialogue with me. And she was fantastic. Just
for the
very
proper
lovely.
casting.
What's that?
For like the proper casting, like
yeah,
this is
for the
on
proper
camera
casting.
now, yeah.
She was lovely and talked me through the scene and worked with me. And then I was brought into a room with a camera, and there was Roz Hubbard, and it was like chalk and cheese. It was like good cop, bad cop.
Right.
And she was,
She was good cop.
No,
Amy's-
Roz was bad cop.
Yeah, Amy's good cop. Roz
Amy
is-
was good cop.
Got it.
And it was, and I was a little bit scared of her.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a good reader, so I felt I was struggling. And we got through the audition. And it's only years later when I think back about that, what she was actually trying to do was get the best performance out of me. But at the time, I just felt, whoa, this is like quite an imposing person. So literally outside the hotel, we had a place in Doonbeg, County Clare, where we go down for the summers, like a caravan, and we'd go down there every summer. So literally, Mum would pack us off, and we'd go down there for weeks. So the car was literally packed, and
Ready
I
to
was
go.
finishing, ready to go.
Yeah.
And I did the audition, I left, and I just said to my mom, I said, that's that then, because I
Not gonna
didn't
get it.
really,
Yeah,
I didn't think I was
feel
going to get it, because it, like I said, I felt I was being almost chastised
Yeah.
in the casting.
She's probably
So-
needed to know that she could get that they were going to get the performance they needed out of you before they.
100%.
Yeah.
And, she had to try things. But when you're a child, and I think of it myself when I'm working with actors, and especially child actors, you have to, you can't correct them too much because then they feel they're doing it wrong. So you have to kind of gently kind of push them into it a bit.
Yeah.
But again, this was my first ever audition.
Yeah.
So, other than the one before, which was a chit chat, but this was first audition with
Yeah, that was just
dialogue.
an interview. Yeah.
So
Had you
I
had?
just said, sorry, bud.
Well, I was just. Had you had ambitions to be a pro actor, or was it just kind of like it was just sort of like, this will be a lark.
Yeah, 100%. It was just like, let's mitch off school and go
Yeah.
go down and see what this is all about. I nearly didn't go in because I was nervous about having to read dialogue, because again, I was like a poor reader, and
Right.
I was worried about having to stand up in front of people reading. So I almost didn't go in at all.
Wow.
But then I just said, oh, F it, I'll go in. So anyway, we finished the audition. I went out and I just said to Mum, well, that's that. And we got in the car and we drove down to Doonbeg, and we're in the caravan, and it's maybe 3 days later, and Tommy Tuberty, who owned the caravan park, comes down to the caravan.
Tommy
Tuberty, yeah, famous guy in County Clare.
Good old Tommy from County Clare.
Tommy Tuberty.
Yeah, Tommy Tuberty from Doonbeg, County Clare, great Gaelic footballer. Owned a caravan park. He came down, knocked at the caravan, and said, "The film people are on the phone." Well, what he actually said was, "The film people are on the phone." Yeah, because we'd no mobile phones. It's 1993.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But
How
they
do you
knew
know
you were going to
what-
be there. Like you had to put like, where are you going to be? Where can we contact you? You said,
No,
"Well,
they rang our house in Woodlawn in Limerick, and
Yeah.
my sister was too old to kind of be going down for the summer with us.
Right.
So they left a message there, and she rang Tommy Tuberty's pub and said,
The only phone in all
the
of
film,
County Cork.
the film people want Brendan to go for an audition down in Skibbereen, Cork.
Wow.
Can he do it? And so Mum had to go up to the pub and ring the Hubbards and say, yeah, we'll get down to Skibbereen for another audition. So that's what we did.
Exciting
So,
though. That's classic.
so we jumped
What
in a
is-
car, and down we went, and we had to get there early because to get dialogue. So we were given script to take away and learn, and then come back. Maybe I think it was 2 or 3 hours later. I can't remember the exact bit, but in we went, and there was Roz again, and she was different. Roz, absolutely fantastic. Put me at ease, talked me through it, worked with me, absolutely incredible. John Roberts, the director, and David Putnam.
Wow.
So, I mean, to me as a child, I didn't know who David Putnam was, if I'm honest. But in hindsight, it's
that
like,
helped.
this is an Oscar-winning producer, head of Columbia Pictures, and he's just kind of
hanging out
with all these young Irish guys who have never acted, because none of us had acted. So
apart from the school play and whatnot,
exactly, but no, no training or anything. We were all raw.
Yeah.
I think of the final cast, only one lad had done a film before; the rest hadn't. But anyway, so did the audition, and I felt it actually went quite well. Went home. Again, a couple of days later, we got a call, pack a bag. They're very keen, and then we didn't hear, I think, for a day or two, and I was getting a little bit anxious. Not a part of me just wanted to make my parents proud, because I felt they'd, I would have enjoyed doing it, but if I didn't do it, I think I would have been grand. But I really wanted them to kind of, I think I wanted to do it for them, really.
Yeah.
And so they had called again to say, we'll know something in an hour or so. So Dad just kind of said, right, come on, let's go for a swim. You're sitting here, you're getting anxious.
Yeah.
You don't need this. And it was a good thing my dad did, in fairness to him.
Yeah.
And we went and we just had a swim. And when I came back to the house about an hour later, they had a big sign up saying congratulations, and that was it.
Wow.
And that's huge in a sense as well, because the book was so big, and Frank McCourt was such a kind of Irish.
That's War of the Buttons now. That's not Angela's Ashes.
This is all
War of the Buttons. Yeah, this is 1993. Angela's Ashes.
Oh, that was your first film.
That was my first film. Yeah.
Wow.
So the one where you showed the kid up the tree, that was me up the tree.
Yeah, that's War of the Buttons. Ah, right. So that was your
first.
That's
the David Putnam one.
Yeah.
And then my second ever audition was Angela's Ashes. And just to get you, I suppose, up to speed as to why that was. So we were very well looked after on War of the Buttons, as in what we would call today, your mental health care.
Yeah.
Because we were all children who never acted.
Yeah.
And suddenly we're in this War of the Buttons movie, and we're getting a lot of attention.
Right.
And David Putnam and an executive from Warner brought us in, and we had this meeting where they had this kind of photocopy thing, and it was talking about Mark Lester and Jack Wilde,
right,
from Oliver,
right.
And it was basically talking about the fact that they were the most famous kids in the whole world,
right,
and suddenly it all went away. And Mark Lester is a chiropodist or something, and Jack Wilde was a very tragic story, of alcoholism, and
so they shared this story with all of you guys.
They wanted us.
It's smart.
It really was.
Wow.
Jay, it really was. It was because they didn't want us getting ahead of ourselves. And David Putnam shared this with us, and he told us this is a very hard industry. Some of you may stay in it, some of you won't. And he was just very honest and frank, and he said, my advice is finish this movie, go back to school, enjoy your teenage.
Yeah.
And at 18, if you still want to act, do it then. And to me, that all sounded very logical.
Okay.
And that's what I did. So, so then I just went back to school. I did, summer 93, I shot War of the Buttons. Summer 94, I was working in an ice cream truck, So
right.
It was very, I took the advice on board, and because we were offered 1 or 2 auditions in the time period,
Yeah.
And I just literally stepped away from it, taking that advice, and wasn't overly keen. I think I maybe in the 5 years I took 1 meeting because Roz was involved, and that was it. But otherwise I didn't go take an agent on or anything like that. I just literally went home and played football and worked jobs and did everything else. Then I get to 18 years of age, and it's now 6th year, which is your final year before if you're going to go to uni or do a trade or whatever. And I saw an advert in the paper for drama and theatre studies at Trinity College in Dublin. And I quite liked the idea of, that sounded interesting as an option maybe, you know. But again, I wasn't, my heart wasn't set in it, but it just sounded like something I could try. So I wrote off to them and they sent back, they said, you have to prepare to fill in this form, prepare 2 monologues, come to Dublin, do an audition. And I mean, that was one option. The other option was like civil engineering in Tralee, which is like,
not
thank
as
God I
exciting.
didn't become a civil engineer, because there'd be a lot of really bad bridges built and a lot of, I wouldn't have been great, I don't think. But anyway, so I'm getting ready to do that audition. Then we get a call again from the Hubbards. They're coming to town to do open auditions for Angela's Ashes. Would I be interested in auditioning?
Okay, there it is.
So then Roz invited us for dinner. There was me and Dara Nocton, who was the other Limerick lad in the War of the Buttons. And we went and had dinner with Roz. And she said, you guys need to audition for this. So that was great. I was getting ready to audition for it. But then she said, typical Roz, kind of roping people in to help. She was like, we're doing open casting sessions. You want to help with the casting? And I was like, cool, great. Sounded great. So my first experience at the casting side was helping run the open casting sessions in Limerick and Clare and at Tipperary.
For Angela's Ashes.
For Angela's Ashes.
Oh, wow.
Okay. At the same time, I've done an audition for the lead role of Frank McCourt. And I was getting ready for the Trinity audition. And Roz sat down with me and worked my Othello with me.
Wow.
So I had like Roz Hubbard helping me get ready for my Trinity audition, which was, brilliant.
Yeah.
So I went and I did that. And Roz had said, listen, if you do get into uni or for the summer, do you want to come over and work for the Hubbards? So I went over to London in 98.
No kidding.
I lived in the Hubbard's house. I mean, these people.
This is like family at this point.
Well, they were just very, very good to me, and the more I think back in it, the more, I find it incredible, really. But, I lived in their house and I worked for them for the whole summer, worked in the casting office. I was like an 18-year-old kid with braces on my teeth. And I was aware, very big ass braces. Yeah. Running around, dropping off tapes and CVs and all that kind of stuff. An incredible summer, and all the while Angela's Ashes is kind of cooking in the background, and I'm in the mix for that. So it's like
and you're might be on your way to Trinity at that point too.
Well, I then found out that summer while in London that I'd got the offer for Trinity.
Look at you.
There you go.
And then I got an offer for Angela's
Talk about
Ashes.
luck of the Irish, eh?
Oh well, I've always been a bit lucky, I think. And you need it in this industry, you need good people around you and the bit of luck.
You do need that kind of support.
So and then I shot Angela's Ashes, started Trinity, and
Now your part in Angela's Ashes, that was bigger than the clip I was able to show. You had lines and things, as I recall.
Yeah, there was a few lines. There was a bigger scene cut, The Joy of an Actor, because I was meant to sing a song, and the day before they got the price of what the song they needed me to sing, and it was some crazy figure.
It was too expensive.
So it was a bit like, okay, so then they, Alan Parker and his camera guy wrote another kind of ditty for me to sing. And it had the word Saskatchewan in it. Now, I had never heard of Saskatchewan, and I really struggled to pronounce it. And I think the scene wasn't overly relevant, I think. It was one of those scenes, and we didn't have the song, so I think it just, cutting room floor. All the way down. But that's where I started in casting and acting, basically.
That's incredible.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude.
And iconic in a way, because what I was going to say before, which is still relevant, is from what I know about Ireland and the Irish, the kind of ability to, these are two very Irish movies, right?
Yeah.
And the Angela's Ashes particularly being such an iconic sort of book, and Frank McCourt's story, especially at the time, it brought a lot of highlight and focus to Ireland, the Irish struggle, the people, the culture. And to be kind of part of that was also, I think, for you, must have been.
Well, there's that, and the fact it's about Limerick, and I'm from Limerick,
right.
so I
representing is what I mean, like just being able to represent.
Yeah, I really, I mean, War of the Buttons was total luck and a fluke and whatever. It was great, and what a summer. But for Angela's Ashes, like, my mother had read the book, you know, so to be able to be in it as a Limerick person felt quite important to me.
How did she like the movie?
I think she preferred the book.
What a question.
Typical.
Yeah.
Listen, the book is serious. Like, I read it, and you can't read that book. Try it, Jay. You can't read it without crying.
Without crying,
and then having to put it down.
Yeah.
And then the movie is one of those, like, I thought it was a great movie. I love Bobby Carlyle. I worked with him as well.
A gent.
A total gentleman. I mean, just like, yeah. Can't say enough great things about him, even though he's
actually
Scottish.
Todd, I know a funny story actually.
Oh yeah.
You worked with Robert Carlyle on the Hitler thing.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. I auditioned for young Hitler in that.
Did you?
Yeah, so I would have been playing young Robert Carlyle.
Oh my gosh! If I take your beard, if I take your mustache and cut it off, I could see it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna like show you how you're right, but
no, you don't.
I don't think the young
Yeah.
Hitler had the little Hitler mustache, but
the funny thing is I to prep for it, I watched Schindler's List, and I did a really terrible. I don't know what I was trying to do, like a kind of German accent, which wasn't. I was like, if you can imagine Ringo Starr trying to be German, I think that's probably how I sounded.
Jawohl, mein Führer.
Yeah, it was shocking, and one of the worst. When I look back at the auditions I did, that was one of the worst. Was definitely that. When I should have just. It's very funny when you think back at stuff in hindsight, and especially with the experience I've had since, because I was what was I there, maybe 21 when I did that audition. But when I look back at that now, it's the kind of thing where you should have just done a neutral British accent and not tried to complicate things.
Yeah, they wanted mid-Atlantic. They wanted like mid-Atlantic in the end because it was such a mix of British and American crossover and stuff. So that's what we landed on, was this mid-Atlantic. But it was a bit of a trip. Like, that was kind of one of my first big gigs with the full with the celebrity cast and all this stuff, and then in a big budget kind of thing. I'd done a lot of other little small things and commercials and stuff, but all of a sudden jump on a set, and then I get in, and my first scene is with Bobby, and of course turn the corner, and he's dressed like, effing Hitler. And he's got the contact lenses, so he's got blue eyes, which are clearly, and he's got the mustache, and he's got the look. And you just turn the corner, and it's really hard to, the separation between, fact and fiction, the suspension of the ability to go, oh my God, I'm like standing next to the guy. It was, and he's looking at me dead in the eyes, very nice, hey Todd, how you doing, buddy? Nice to see you. Okay, very gentlemanly, Bobby.
He's really
hiding
nice
behind this Hitler facade. It was intense.
Because when he can turn it on, I mean, as an actor, when he turns it on, it's like
super nice. And then all of a sudden, and action, and it was just like, and I was like, oh crap. Funny. Did you get to work with him? Do you have scenes with him, or did you?
No, I had no
scenes
with him.
Not.
It was on. I actually ended up sharing a car with him. Briefly, and he was ill. He had to leave set early because he was ill. But they threw me into the car beside him as just, logistics and whatnot. But again, he wasn't feeling great, but he was, he was just a gent.
Nice.
He was very chatty. Didn't need to be, but, asked me a few questions, even though he was poorly. But yeah, he was just a really nice guy. And I know, there was an incident on set where he defended one of the ADs in a circumstance that should never have happened.
Right.
And I know the crew loved him for it.
No kidding.
Yeah.
He kind of did the same for me. It was freezing cold. I was in the set, and I'm over there like, we were in like a prison cell thing, and it was middle of winter almost, and I'm like, nobody's taking care of me because I'm a nobody, right? And Bobby's over there with a parka, and he's got a heater in front of him, and he's got these. He goes, hey, he hands me his hand warmers, these things. He goes, Todd, here, take these. And he said a word like, hey, you guys have to warm him up too. Because I'm over there stomping my feet in between takes.
Yeah.
Like, you can see my breath, and he's cozy and warm, and they're all gathered around him. So he did the same thing for me. I won't forget that, actually. And it was like I say, early days for me. I was young.
Yeah, he was a nice guy.
Yeah, great. So you, after the movie breaks, what I was going to say to Jay is, by the way, is that, and about the movie, the book is similar to the fact that, like, I think I only watched the movie once. It's one of those one time. It's like a Schindler's List. Like, you don't just sit down and go, ooh, let me pop some popcorn and get into this.
Put on some shindy. Yeah.
Sophie's Choice, anyone?
Oh, yeah.
That sounds like fun.
Who's she going to choose this time?
Who's she going to choose, maybe? So, no, it's bleak, but I kind of, now I want to watch it again. It's been a while. It's worth it. It's worth a viddy again. But same like the book. It's just, the book was hard to not, you have to put it down and kind of process and stuff. And tears were flowing. But anyway, back to Brandon. So you finish this movie. When do you end up going to Trinity then?
So I'm in Trinity while doing the movie, but Trinity isn't allowed to know I'm doing the movie.
Wow.
Because back then...
you had to be an amateur, sort of.
Well, it was vocational, they felt. And they felt that all your focus had to be the course. Right. So we couldn't tell them that I was doing the movie.
But you're already working as a pro.
And I'm already working, ridiculous,
Wow.
But this was the thing. And so I had to fake a few sick days, shall we say. And it was a bit ridiculous because being from Limerick, I was moving to Dublin. And had nowhere to stay for college yet, because I actually started filming before I started uni.
Right.
And I was looking for a place to live because I didn't get halls at first. There's a place, Trinity Halls, which is kind of off-campus residence for first years. And I didn't get a place there. And I was fuming about it, and I had nowhere to live. And I was going around a city trying to find somewhere to live in a place I wasn't familiar with.
Yeah.
I was still doing work for the Hubbards in Ireland. I was doing days on Angela's Ashes and wardrobe and all that kind of stuff all at the same time, and starting uni, and nowhere to live. Bless production. They basically said you can stay in your hotel room till you sort yourself out.
Oh, snap.
That's great.
Which was great, but a blessing and a curse, because again, I didn't have a mobile phone at that time. I was about to get a mobile phone, but I hadn't one. And they would ring the hotel. So I would ring estate agents from the hotel, and they'd call back, and they thought I was some, I don't know, ambassador's child or rich kid living in a bloody, because it was a lovely hotel. It was the Jury's Towers at the time, which was a lovely hotel. And
this isn't some poor student. So now the rents go up there, huh?
Yeah. So I was either getting shown hovels that you'd never live in, or places that I could never afford.
Right.
So it was ridiculous. So then one day I was in Bray Studios. I was doing something for the Hubbards. I was in the office. I was very cross. I was freaking out about, I was missing Freshers Week, basically.
Yeah.
And I got on the phone and I rang admissions. And I said, because of your effing mistake, I got my paperwork late. I've nowhere to live in Dublin. This is ridiculous. I'm started college. I can't believe this has been done to me, and I'm getting no help, or blah, blah, blah. And I slammed down the phone. And Roz looked up from the other side of the desk and said, what have we created? And
because you pulled a Hollywood move on them, basically.
I just lost the plot.
Yeah. But
they rang my mother an hour later and said there was a spare place. Brendan could have it if he can get up to Dartry Road, Trinity Halls.
Wow.
And sign all the paperwork. Boom.
You accessed your inner Karen. That was amazing.
Yeah, right. He hacked us his future casting director.
Well, I don't know, but I it's just one of those things. You pick up the phone and I just vented at this poor lady who probably has not. But they did legitimately send my paperwork out late.
Yeah, they screwed it up.
Yeah. So then I get into halls. I'm getting picked up in, the morning by a car to go to set. So the security guard has no idea who this kid is.
Yeah.
I've just arrived, and there's a big black Mercedes picking me up.
Or the driver opening the door for you.
Exactly. It was the most ridiculous. And I'm a smelly, cheap student.
Some guy with a rucksack.
So this goes on for weeks, because I did quite a number of days on it.
Sure.
And, they were spread out over various periods. So we kind of had to make up excuses as to why I wasn't going to
starting school properly.
Yeah. And, I had to fake a kind of sore knee and all that kind of stuff in hindsight, which, isn't great. But again, the rule of not doing professional work was a bit ridiculous, I felt. So
yeah, if anything, they should be glad to have you already.
Well, you'd hope. But anyway, it was a 5-day-a-week course. It was very intensive. I see their point of view, but I didn't necessarily agree with it. So I did that. And eventually I had to come out and say, because the schedule changed. Well, the schedule changed, so I was going to be doing more days. So it was like, okay, I can't keep lying.
You can't just keep limping.
So I basically said, I did a lot of this before I started uni. I'm contracted. I can't get out of it.
Right.
I need to do a week here or a few days there. And once they knew about it, it was fine. They weren't going to chuck me. Thankfully, they said okay. So then, I did that and got back into the training, and it was fine.
I think even if externally they had to pretend that it was against policy, internally they're going, oh, geez, we got a student here who's going to be in one of the biggest Irish movies of the decade.
Yeah,
it doesn't hurt their,
I think so, but I mean, they had a lot of already. People gone through that course who would have done a lot bigger work than I had. But I don't know if you see it yourself, Todd, sometimes, but you have people who maybe aren't so au fait with film, and they're more interested in theater, because it was theater training at the end of the day. And back then there wasn't much film training. In the 3 years, we only did a week with a camera. And
1 week out of 3 years, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And this was one of my major gripes about training, which kind of continued on to when I became a casting director. And not so long ago, guys, the courses, didn't have a camera. Or again, only did
certainly
a week's
when I went to
training.
uni, there was nothing. I'm like, where are the on-camera stuff? Yeah. And I went to school in Los Angeles. I mean, Hollywood was right down the hill. It's like,
that's even madder,
Yeah. The theater's great, but I need a job when I get out of here, and I don't know how to go down.
Well, if 50% of your auditions involve a camera, you have to know how to work it. I mean,
how to look and do.
Now it's a lot better today, and training is much better today. But definitely, even when I set up Beach in 2007, and I was doing workshops and speaking to grads and stuff, I was shocked how little work they were doing with camera.
Yeah.
2007. So you've almost had this casting company for 20 years?
Yeah.
Wow. Holy crap.
Yeah, that's why he's
he goes,
that's why he's turned bright red.
Yeah. 20 years, mad.
Yeah, so let's move into that, because obviously, I mean, you were Trinity sounded like ultimately a good experience.
I loved it. I made some of my best friends and had a whale of a time. I didn't take the training too seriously. And that's on me. Because I think there is a lot of value to certain parts of actor training, especially voice work and movement work. I think they are crucial.
Yeah.
There was other aspects of it which I found ridiculous. And I felt that we were guinea pigs for people's PhDs, people who are interested in, far out Polish theater and experimental theater that I felt wasn't very beneficial to Irish actors looking to get out into the industry.
Right.
I see.
So, and we had a few blaggers in there as well on the course, not student-wise, but lecturers who I felt shouldn't have been there.
Can't do
blaggers,
so they teach.
like like blackguards,
Fake, no,
like
blaggers
evil...
faking it. That means
I just felt, and a lot of
blag
rubbish.
your way through it is.
Grifters, a lot of rubbish stuff
Those
that
that
we
can't
didn't
do
need.
teach kind of deal.
Kind of.
They
and
ended up.
Some great people too. Don't get me wrong, but there was aspects of it I found a bit didn't make any sense to me. The other problem was it's the sausage factory thing. If you see what goes into a sausage, you'll never eat a sausage.
Right.
And I had seen behind the curtain because, I had time in a casting office.
Yeah.
Time
on set.
I'd been on 2 sets. I some of it I didn't
almost
see
more
the relevance
than some of the teachers, I guess, right?
Maybe in some ways, but again, I was still like a child. I was still 18,
20,
19, 20,
yeah.
and you'd think you know everything, of course, and and a lot of the time you don't. But I thought certain things, I definitely wouldn't have felt were relevant for the course. But it was a great time.
And you came out, but at some point it seems like, I know you did some more acting, but it seems like maybe somewhere in there was the turnaround where you said, well, maybe, or when did you get into say, oh, you know what, I'm going to just focus on being casting?
So I was very lucky with I basically did about 6 auditions and landed them all. So I was very lucky. And I was
Todd is jealous of you.
Yeah, we don't need to hear that's not the kind of stuff we're looking for.
the reason I bring it up is because I had a very...
We know why you're bringing it up.
I had a very skewed view of what acting was.
Yeah, this is easy.
Yeah.
You go to casting and you get the job.
Yeah.
Casting equals job. Yeah.
That's literally because in my second year I did a BBC series.
Yeah.
Where I had another big bloody role. And so it was all a bit easy, and which meant that at a young age I don't think I respected the process of acting, and I wasn't somebody who was steeped in theater or wanted to be on the stage. I came from a film side, and that's what I wanted to do because that's where I was like literally making money and
working both sides.
Yeah. And even when we did the theater bits as part of my course and we did a week's run, I found it quite hard work, to G myself up for a week of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So I think the reason
we know how you feel about hard work. No, I'm just kidding.
No, no, you're right.
No, but the
reason I'm saying this is to get to the point where I don't feel I was ever a proper actor.
Right. Huh. You weren't drawing blood on the theater floor.
I wasn't drawing blood.
This is where I want to.
Yeah, there's that, Todd, and there was also I don't know if I respected the craft because everything kind of came to me, and I was never one to kind of say, "Oh, I'm an actor." I found it a bit ridiculous. And again, of course, as actors and to your audience and whatnot, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but
sure.
I was, I came from, not an acting background. Nobody in my family were performers or anything like that. So it just felt like a strange thing to be. And it was cool in university and it was fun. But when you leave uni and suddenly, because I did pick up a few other roles, but then you have a gap between.
Yeah.
And then you're doing your side hustle.
Yeah.
And my side hustle was either a bit of bar work or a bit of working in casting.
Yeah.
And I found it hard to do this. The gaps became bigger because obviously I started doing auditions and started not getting the parts.
Right.
And that I found a bit, okay, this is a bit harder, obviously. And then I was doing theater auditions and not getting the part. But when I was with Hubbard's for nearly 2 years working in the casting office, and I was doing a lot of interesting work and I was enjoying it, and I did a theater audition and I was recalled, and then my agent rang and said, by the way, if you get this, it's a regional tour.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to be doing this and this.
Yeah, 12-month contract or whatever.
That kind of vibe. And I had just taken a flat with two of my mates from Dublin, and in my head I was thinking, I don't really want to go off and do that.
I just don't want to.
Yeah. And in my head I was like, every actor would give their right arm for this opportunity. If you're not, wanting to do it, then this really isn't for you.
Maybe isn't it? Yeah.
So that's when I had the realization that, I didn't really want to act. I did maybe a few more little auditions.
Yeah.
But I was in my head, that kind of told me enough. And then I was leaving Hubbard's because they were downsizing the team, because productions were ending as they do and everything else. And Amanda Tabak had advertised for a new assistant, and I applied and got it. And I was kind of doing commercials for her for 2.5 years and moved on from there. And during that time, I had a call from Roz to say that there was a part for me to audition for. Would I do it? And I said, no, I'm out. And she asked me, was I sure? And I said, yeah. Wow. And that was it. I was out. And I finished with Amanda and then set up my own company in 2007 and cast everything, whatever was going,
right,
basically. And yeah, that's how I got to casting.
Wow, what a trajectory. That's amazing. And there's a kind of I'm sitting here thinking, standing here, like, what is the definition of this kind of actor? But it won't come easily. We'll have to have a think about it, because it's you did it, and you did it well. You had a blast. But I see a lot of young actors that don't do it in their adult life, and maybe for the same reasons, Some of them made money, some of them burnt out, some of them don't need it, but some of them moved on to other production and things. But it might have just been the thing that was fun to do when you were young, but
yeah, I mean,
not going to be your life in the end of the day.
That was kind of it, I mean.
But do you love casting? I mean, are you passionate about this, or are you just good at it?
That's a good question, Todd.
Thank you. It's loaded a bit, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if
you don't have to answer right away.
I enjoy casting. I've had lots of fun, but I've been doing it for quite a long. I've cast nearly 1,000 different productions.
Yeah.
So there's not
nearly 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think only 1 or 2 of those had me.
Wow. Of course, that's what you were going to say, Todd.
Well, I mean, if we're doing it,
Kramer was going to say.
We're looking deep at the stats.
But I mean, obviously,
what percentage of that had?
What percentage of that is me?
Was me. Anyway.
But I mean,
yeah, you've done. I mean, I know you've done
a lot.
Music videos and commercials and
I mean, obviously,
film and TV.
Commercials are what I'm known for.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when I started out, it was everything. It was film, TV, and I was doing a lot of indie film stuff. And I also had a production company, and we were developing things.
Really?
Yeah. So there was lots of various different bits going on. And I mean, I suppose if we're on the track now, I might as well explain it.
Yeah.
So I set up to cast everything. We were doing film, TV, music videos when they were plentiful. Obviously, the music video industry is gone, unfortunately. Yeah. Well, almost gone, but it's, compared to what it was. And I would be helping getting projects off the ground, beg, borrowing, and stealing, try to get cast involved. And that is very hard work.
Yeah, it's grueling.
It's grueling, and you're trying to get financiers interested, and all they're saying to you is Ewan McGregor. And you're just like,
right. We need a star. We need a name. We need
and that's the only name they know. I mean,
right.
So I had years of that, and our own little production company as well. And I took on Todd, you'll have been there, the office on the Strand and the studio I had there. Yep. I took that on, so that was a major kind of investment, as it were. And the whole idea was keep the commercials going, so I can hopefully focus on, the getting lower budget films cast and our own little development stuff. And that was the whole plan. And I was a bit savage with it. It was a crazy schedule, a crazy time. I'm married, I've got a child, a mortgage, this big office, staff.
Right.
We're doing all this crazy work trying to get things done, and
no time to look up.
No time to look up. And the other problem I had was I was getting quite burnt out from the schedule, and I was getting a bit annoyed and frustrated with the whole financing thing of trying to attach people, trying to get stuff off the ground, trying to get development money, and all that going on. And I was making a bit of a name for myself with commercials. And commercials are hard work, but they're great in a sense that, you do them, they're done, you're paid, all going well. So around 2012, I really turned a corner with commercials. And then I was doing everything and a lot of commercials. And I had to pay for this office. So I couldn't kind of say no to commercials, which meant my time was more invested with commercial side of things and trying to, develop or do. I was getting offered lower budget films to cast, but I literally couldn't afford to do it because I had to keep staff and
keep the lights on.
Keep the lights on. And that's why I ended up doing so many commercials and I suppose got known for it. And that's my main bread and butter. And I do enjoy it, and I'm not poo-pooing it.
Yeah.
And I've been very lucky to do it. But, that's kind of what I do. Now, to say, am I passionate about it? I think I'm passionate about my own work, as in I want to be professional and I want to be, I want to help actors when they're working with us. I'm passionate about that side of the things. I don't know if I'm as passionate about the industry as I used to be, only because I've been in it a very long time and I was on a wheel spinning.
Yeah.
COVID happened and I suddenly had, 6 weeks to think.
Right.
And part of me kind of went, whoa, that was crazy. So yeah, so I'm still kind of debating how passionate I am about it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's rambly, Todd, but
no, it's clear. This industry, I think no matter what side of it you're on, we all take, when we do get a chance to pick our head up and reflect, in those times when you're not working or whatever, I think it's nonstop. You're always questioning, is this still for me? It doesn't matter how old you get. And I was on somebody else's podcast not long ago, and they asked me the same thing, like, when did it all, click in and you became really comfortable with what you do? And I said, I'm still waiting for that one. Like, there's kind of a lot, a day, or not a day, but a week or a month that goes by where I don't go, maybe I'm pulling the plug here pretty quick. I don't know. I might, I'm looking around. Like, what's another option? What else can I be doing? Maybe I don't like it.
Yeah.
And then something pops up and you go, oh, it sucks you back in. And But I think it's healthy to just always be like, not so firmly engaged with this, because the industry itself is a fickle mistress.
It really is.
Totally.
And it was described to me as a bug, and it is like having a bug, a bug to do it. And I think the last 2 years in the industry have been pretty tough. I've been very lucky. Prior to the last 2 years, I've been very lucky to kind of have a non-stop level of flow of work. I've been very lucky that way. But the last 2 years have been a struggle because there's less work. We've had the strikes.
Yeah.
And the industry, and when I say industry, I'm talking about the whole industry, but I'm also really talking about advertising, because that's my bread and butter in my day-to-day, really. But there's definitely less stuff being done, and there's jitters with budgets, and the industry, is changing. And yeah, it just makes you kind of, I think in quieter times, you'll reflect and think, is this right for me, or is this even going to be here tomorrow?
Yeah.
And it's funny because I think in some ways I stopped being an actor because, I wanted to be busy. I wanted something that seemed a bit stable.
Right.
And, and in a lot of ways it has been stable, but the last number of years you're kind of thinking, a lot of us are in the very same boat as actors, as in we're just waiting for the next project to come in too. And it's something that I've been thinking about a lot recently. And it's something that I think needs to be shared with especially young actors, is that our industry is very transient. For example, you're part of a film and it's great, and you're in there and you're either acting or your crew or whatever, and everybody's making money and everybody's enjoying it, and it might be, 6 weeks or 6 months, and it's fantastic, and suddenly it's done and it's off and it's in post-production, and then it's out, there's a little bit of a bump again, and then it's gone. And all those people who were your little production family all go off to try find different things. And I think actors, when they're thinking, or young people especially, when they're thinking of getting into the industry, need to be told that that's what it really is, and that's what it's always been, is that it's a transient industry. And unless you're doing something like 30 years on EastEnders or Corrie or something like that, you're you
Even
really
then you're
are
counting yourself lucky every time they renew your contract.
Well, exactly. But other than that, you really are waiting on the next project and hoping for the next project. And it's the same with theater, in the sense that, you might do a 6-week run, 6 weeks of rehearsals, and after that, it's out there, it's done. And then you're looking for the next thing. And if that's the lifestyle for you, great. But if it's not, then you need to think about it, because it's not going to change. I think it's always been that.
Yeah, it's uncertain.
Yeah, I think we've had this chat before, right? How, like, for an actor, like, the most stability you could possibly have is like 10 years in a row on like a TV series, right? Or something like that, right? And that's like for an actor, that's like the highest, that's like that most possible stable you can get, right? And we live, where a lot of people have jobs, like my dad had his job for 23 years. And even before that, he was in engineering, right? Like people have jobs for like a lifetime.
People have careers.
People have careers.
They usually only have one or two, maybe.
And like for an actor, like literally the most, like the highest level is like not even like a third of the like usual like length of time of other people's careers, and that's the most.
Yeah. 100%.
What have you seen change, Brendan, in the last, like with the era of self-tape and since post-COVID, post-SAG? Like, what's changed in the world of casting from your side?
We're moving a lot of footage around. Before we were in the studio, we were working with actors. It was a lot more fun.
Yeah.
And now,
for us too.
Yeah, definitely. And now it feels like, I'm a Dropbox that just moves stuff and looks at stuff. Now, some self-tapes can be great. It depends on obviously what we're casting and the context, and whether it's a funny thing or a serious thing that will interest you or whatever. But a lot of my colleagues and I have kind of discussed the fact that we are literally watching footage and moving footage around like never before.
Are you getting the stuff? Because we can talk back and forth really from my perspective, our perspective as actors, but
yeah, please.
Are you getting the stuff that you need from a self-tape as opposed to the times when we were in the room?
It depends what's needed. There's some things a self-tape can't do, and there's other things a self-tape definitely can do.
Right.
If it's a look and a gag line, we can get that in a self-tape. But if there's lots of physicality and a performance, it's hard to get that in a self-tape. I mean, where the self-tape is useful, I think, is a first round. Here's an example of what this person can do.
Yeah.
And then get them in for the recall, meet them in person.
Yeah.
That I think is good. I mean, what's happening now is with my range of directors, some directors won't do self-tapes. They just can't stand them, want to be back in the room. Other directors are happy with a self-tape to kind of get a sense of them, and then do a shortened recall list to work with them and see them. And then you have younger directors who all they know is self-tapes and Zoom, and they're happy with that.
Right.
And that I find a bit hard and sad. And
yeah, because from our perspective, being in the room is the opportunity.
Yeah.
Because I can get the immediate feedback, whereas I've got maybe one or two choices I can make in a self-tape, and that's kind of it. And that's a lot of times down to my interpretation based on the little bit of instruction I might get. And then I'll give you one or two shots at it. Whereas in the room, I might be able, you might notice or see what I'm doing or trying. We can have a little back and forth Q&A, and I can give you something, and I can also maybe change your mind.
100%.
And that is totally lacking now. My opportunity to get in that room and convince you that, yeah, you weren't thinking about casting someone who looked like me or spoke like me or performed like me. But now I've sort of swayed you or swung you, you meaning the producer, director, the client, whatever, that, this is a new option, perhaps. All that stuff is gone. So from our perspective, I send out like this message in a bottle that is just kind of a hope that goes out into the universe. And I don't even know if anybody's looking at it. And if they do look at it, they go, oh, no, we weren't thinking about that.
Yeah.
Move on. As opposed to, yeah, let's see, let's go for some options.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that in-room is definitely better.
Right.
I that's what I would say.
Minus the schlep into London or whatever.
That's the only thing I was going to say.
Yeah.
One thing self-tapes has done, it's opened up a lot of opportunity for people outside of London.
Right.
And it's helped a lot of people whose schedules don't permit them to get into London. That way it has helped. And I mean, I think it's going to stay no matter what. I think we are in a hybrid
we have
state.
it now.
Yeah.
I just want to see it sort of get, I don't know, not regulated, but systematized or standardized in a sense, so that, and maybe through some, like a platform like Spotlight would be ideal, where things are uploaded there and downloaded there and the instructions are there. And, because again, from my perspective, we get multiple, all kinds of different instructions coming through.
Yeah.
Platforms to upload to, and this standardized for them, and this, spend a lot of time. If you're not technically minded, if you don't have the space and the equipment to do it, it seems like it might be detrimental to the performer, especially like someone who's older.
Definitely, and I've seen that, and I've worried about older actors, especially. Obviously, this all kicked off during COVID in a big way. Obviously, self-tapes existed before that, but not to this extent.
Yeah.
And I remember sending out instructions for the first time and, getting messages back from older actors or from the agent of older actors saying they just can't, Brendan.
There's no way to do this,
Yeah, they can't have someone come into the house, and some
them.
terribly sad messages like that. And some actors who left the industry because of it. So.
Well, you're one of the good ones anyway. I mean, with the instructions, I can see.
Thanks, man.
The effort. Yeah, that's one thing. And it's appreciated on our side again.
I do get a lot of actors who are, very thankful for the videos. It's effectively what I would be saying to you in the room.
Yeah. For those that don't know, and for Jay, I'll explain that.
Yeah.
When you get a casting from Brendan, and there's one or two others that'll do it, they send you a video of themselves explaining, and even showing and stuff. And Brendan, with his acting experience, can even kind of, perform it for you. Costume and makeup, he goes all out. It's crazy. It's really a little bit like you're like, okay, man, we can see. I
do caveat that though, Todd, by saying, listen, my eyes are big. I do everything a little bit bigger and exaggerated. So don't follow me.
You don't have to be big like me. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm a bit hammy.
Brendan,
you don't have to be as hammy as me.
Yeah.
Do you ever find that, like, this is I don't remember who had brought this up with me. Do you ever find that, like, when you get a bunch of self-tapes, do you, or like your colleagues, right? Do you ever just like even look at like these people's as headshot, right? And be like, oh, wait, they actually aren't the look we're looking for. We don't even need to watch the self-tape.
No, I watch everything.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. And I think most people do, guys.
There is this kind of sensation that in equity, there's as we're doing some negotiations around this and things with PACT, around what's being termed as the Tinderization of self-tapes.
Yeah.
Meaning you see the picture, you don't watch the video, you just swipe right and go, no, not the right look.
Yeah, I can imagine why people think that.
Yeah.
Now, obviously I watch stuff, curate it, and send it on to my client. I can't say how they watch it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can't force the director or producer to sit through everything.
Yeah.
But from our point of view, if we request it, we watch it.
Yeah.
Now, I'll watch as much of it as I need, but I'll definitely give it. It's definitely not a swipe. You know.
Well, I understand that you're, and this is what the concern is also, and it seems that often might be the case with other casting directors and agencies, that they're not doing their job on their end in the terms, they're not carefully curating talent, watching the show reel on Spotlight, going through the CV and things and saying, okay, yes, I would like to see, I know that I want to see this actor specifically.
Oh, I see. If you're saying from that stage.
From that stage, as opposed to just like, send them all.
Yeah.
And I'll sort it out later.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Now, again, I can only speak from how I work.
Yeah.
And there are times, and I'll be very honest there are times when I'll curate it more if I have more time on a job. But there's also, because of me working in advertising, some of my schedules are ridiculous. And sometimes I won't be able to curate as much as I would if I had time. So I might be quicker looking at a CV or part of a showreel than I would normally. But there's also the thing that because I've done so many productions, I know a lot of actors.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
So if I see your headshot, Todd, I know you're a reliable actor. I can trust you. I don't need to go through your showreel again.
Right.
It's like, right.
Yeah. And you know my type, and you know what.
Exactly. I know you're authentic American. You know.
Yeah.
So I won't need to go through it as much. So if I might request more or be quicker with my requests because of my, the lack of time on my side. But everything that comes back is still going to be watched. And this in some ways is no different from what I used to say years ago to actors. If you do back in the day, right? Let's forget about self-tape. Back in the day, you'd come into me for, let's say, a commercial. Okay? And that mightn't work out in the room that day, and you go off. At the same time, I may be working on a short film, or I may be working on a TV pilot or a film.
Or a month later, something pops up.
Exactly. And that's the casting director's job, really, is that, right, it didn't work that day. You've done a very good job. Perhaps you've been penciled or even recalled, but haven't got the job. But, tap yourself on the back and say, right, job done.
Yeah.
Because I may think of you for something else.
It's
because you've done a good job.
Memory bank, yeah.
Exactly. And, I'm a great believer in work breeds work. And
that's a good attitude. I like that. Work breeds
but I really am. And I think even with your self-tapes, even, and I understand why it feels like you're just sending stuff out to the ether and you're not getting feedback and you're not getting that in-room feel or the wink from the casting director or a tap on the back or whatever. I understand that 100% and I know how hard that must be. But again, the good casting directors will be watching it, seeing something, and if it doesn't work out on that occasion, you may be considered for something else, or because I often disagree with my client. I'll often send stuff on. Some directors will ask me for notes, others don't. But I'll say, this is who I like, and this is why I really like them, blah, blah, blah. And they mightn't agree. But it's the fact that I've seen you, like you, trust you, and think you can do a good job means I'm going to get you for something else.
Yeah.
And think of you for something else. Or the next time you appear to me on something, it's like, oh, I remember them from that. Bish, bosh, bang. So I feel work breeds work, and you just gotta, you gotta take that opportunity as best you can. And if it doesn't work out, brush it off and kick on. That's all you can really do. But I think there's always, here's the thing, from our point of view, even before self-tapes, if I audition 20 people for a role, 19 people are going to be unhappy. It's just the way it is, and 19 people, some of them will brush it off. Others will think, oh, well, they didn't tell me this or they didn't tell me that, or it'll be somebody else's fault, or, they haven't learned it, but they'll still blame the casting director, or they didn't spend enough time in it, or sometimes maybe they weren't prepped properly and maybe the casting director made a mistake and, gave them the sides late, etc. There's a million different reasons why something might work out. But the thing is, as a casting director, I've auditioned 20 people, one person's happy, 19 aren't. And I think that's why a lot of kind of sometimes myth and, bad energy gets pushed towards casting directors, because we're called gatekeepers, or we're holding people down, or we're stopping people, or we're not looking at tapes, and we're not doing this and we're not doing that. And sometimes I'm afraid that it's people looking for excuses and we're the boogeyman and we're the person to blame, when really a lot of the time we're trying to be as professional as we possibly can. I would love everyone to get the part. I have no interest in an actor doing a bad audition. It doesn't benefit me in any way. I need actors to be brilliant. I need actors to do fantastic auditions, because if an actor does a fantastic audition, I look fantastic. If my director is scratching their head at the end of a session,
right, has nobody to pick from.
Yeah, but if they,
it says, well, there's nothing here, right?
Yeah, but if my director is scratching his head at the end of the session, going, "Oh my God, I've got 10 options here," I look fantastic.
Oh, that way, yeah,
that way. That's how I think of it. Is that if I bring in 20 actors for something and all of them do a fantastic job and my director is having a problem trying to figure out who their person is, I've done my job. I do not benefit in any way from an actor doing a bad audition.
Yeah. As opposed to what I was saying was the opposite, where they go, well, what did you bring me here, Brendan? This is, I got nothing here. Right.
Exactly. Because then I lose work, because I'm the idiot who has thought that this person is good enough to come in.
Yeah.
And repeat clients, that's the bread and butter.
And that's why I say work breeds work. Repeat clients,
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I'll ask you one or two more quick questions, because we haven't had a chance.
3, 4.
You've got me here, rock on.
We haven't had a chance to really have a kind of, have we, Jay? A little tete-a-tete with a real live cast.
No, this is great.
52 episodes later, and we finally got one nailed down.
3-in-1. I was a 3-in-1.
Yeah.
Irish, child actor, casting director.
Casting director.
There you go.
Yeah. The triple threat. Triple whammy.
Yeah.
What would you describe would be, what's the ideal relationship that you see or feel would be between the actor and the casting director?
Just, both professional, obviously, and, send a message every, couple of months or once, twice a year, whatever, or just let us know what you're up to. But it doesn't need to be, I don't need weekly updates from an actor.
Yeah, I never even thought about doing that.
I get a lot of newsletters that I haven't subscribed to, but, and I'm not poo-pooing that, but I just think, keeping casting directors abreast of what you're doing is not a problem. Or if you've changed your show reel, or if you change your headshots, that's, I think sometimes actors are a bit afraid to email. I don't think they ever should be. We'll look at as much of it as we need. But I think, the perfect relationship is like anything, it's like your plumber or your electrician. Everybody be courteous and professional, and we all want to do a good job, and learn your script and be ready for something to, that might come up. But I always say to actors as well, don't be afraid to ask questions. Especially if you're in the room and something's not clear, don't waste the take by not asking a question. Always ask a question if something isn't clear, because otherwise you've traveled all the way in, you don't understand something, you're about to do something that you don't understand. If you do something you don't understand, you're not going to do it well, and that might be the only take you get. So ask that question. Don't be afraid. Because the other thing I think it's good to ask a question is that you're building a relationship. You're having a, you're not just
it's a
the 7th, 8th actor. You're somebody to chat to, and you're somebody who's, now engaged with this director, having a conversation as a professional, talking about this role. You've asked a solid question that you need a clarifying, and bosh bosh, you go do a take, and it's hopefully better because you've asked that question. You're clear.
Yeah.
And you might be more clear in that director's head as well, because they've engaged with you as well. as seeing the character.
Well, so from my perspective, I consider you a sort of professional colleague in a sense, because I've known you. I came here 15 years ago. I think I started seeing you pretty much right away for stuff. And I know you, you know me. And so when I get a casting from you and I meet you in the room or whatever it is, I kind of know what to expect. And I know who I'm talking to in a sense, right? And I know that you know probably, well, definitely a lot more about me than I even know about you. Because because you've looked at my show, really. You've looked at my CV. My name has been bandied about, or whatever actor it is. Your assistant knows who I am. There's been decisions made around Todd Kramer, even just to get me in the room or to get me the self-tape. So you guys have been doing your work there. So when I come to you or any casting director, I already have that assumption, like, okay, they have an expectation of me. They already know something about me. We all consider each other professionals, like you said. And this is and if it's even somebody I have never cast for before or have cast for over years, I keep a running tab of everybody I've cast with over the years. I take it as a long-term relationship, meaning I might not get this one. I probably won't, because it's it's a lucky draw. But I know I'll hear from you again a few months down the road or a year from now, and we pick up where we left off and we just carry on from there.
100%.
So it's almost like, it's sort of like dating in a sense. It's the very slow dating process. Like,
it's been a while.
Right. Where you been? You don't call anymore. Courting, maybe that's a better way. Courting, like kind of a courtship.
Courtship, yeah.
Yeah, where it's this has always been my advice to others. If you like a girl or someone and you want to partner up with them, but you're not sure, you don't rush in right away, and you establish a friendship and you get to know them over a period of time, and maybe something will come to fruition a year from now, 2 years from now. It's evolving, in other words, and at some point everything will click, and then everybody's working together and happy and making money, like you said.
Yeah.
So that's the healthy attitude, I guess, to have.
Yeah, and I think definitely. And the thing is, the brief isn't always going to suit, you,
right,
the actor. So hence why there isn't constant contact.
Yeah,
because
exactly. You're not going to get something from me every commercial.
Well, there you go.
Although I think you should start sourcing.
Start writing them, yeah. But that's that's a thing, which is the brief is different every time. The client you're working with is different every time, and the idea can be different every time. So, but again, if you're doing good, solid auditions, good, solid professional auditions, they'll stand to you, And again, work breeds work, and
they'll remember
people
you.
will want to work with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only way to build a career. I wrote a book in 2011, 2012, right. Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And it's called The Audition Stupid.
Yeah, it's the audition stupid. I remember that. Yeah,
there you go. There you go. But I used to do a lot more talks and things like that. And one of the things I used to say to actors was I used to reference Chris O'Dowd. Because Chris O'Dowd, when I kind of switched over into casting and like was an assistant, or when I was running Coptic Studios, he would always be in, he'd be always called back, because he was just always good and professional and funny, and there was something about him. And, I used to see, you can see his career progression from always getting penciled or booked on commercials to, getting called in for those TV things. And there was one time, like, he was all over the TV. He'd been in 2 different commercials.
Yeah.
And then, you'd see him in the IT crowd, and then obviously he kicked on into, the super career he's having. But, he was just one of those people, you could see the career progression through, his training, then his getting commercial works, low budget films, and then comedy stuff, bit of Irish stuff, and then, the TV breakthrough, and then on and on and on, But
Right.
it's all has to be from the audition.
Yeah.
And, doing good, solid, funny, interesting, making good choices, auditions. And it's all built on that.
It's funny because the first thing, I think you've got a little casting still left in you, because the first thing you said to Jay was, who represents you?
Who represents you? Yeah.
Like the casting director, I was like, okay, maybe someday I need that guy.
Yeah,
100%.
actually, speaking of that, if you were looking for someone like me, who would you not reach out to because they don't have me in their books?
What the heck?
That's a great question if you think about it.
It is. Who would I not reach out to?
Yeah, because you're like, oh, they don't have this guy. They don't have that. They don't have that like artsy American guy.
Oh, I see. I don't think I.
It doesn't work like that, Jay.
Yeah,
Don't you
I don't think I
understand how
could.
casting works?
Yeah, I don't think I could know everyone's roster with the amount of
Yeah.
agents out there. But that's a very
they put a brief
good
out.
question with the phrase.
If it was, yeah, that's a head scratcher. Speaking of, no, listen, this is how it works for those that don't.
If you think of it, you let me know.
Let's do the primer's guide to casting. The client will contact, usually production company or something, will contact a casting director and say, here's what we're looking for. The casting director then puts up a brief on Spotlight. Generally, the brief has everything laid out. Then the agent, which you don't have, Jay, submits you for the casting, and then Brendan and his team will look at that submission and the list of submissions they get and go, okay, and they go, yay, nay, yeah, let's see him, and that's how it works. So you can bounce around to lots of agents as long as they're on Spotlight and submitting you.
The only thing I'd add to that, Todd, is that we would, as well as the agent submissions, we would also have our own list of ideas.
Look around, yeah.
Yeah, and check availabilities and interest,
Right.
of would such and such be
Well,
also
especially, I guess, if
interested
it's
in coming.
niche, if they go, look, we're looking for a black Norwegian lady.
There you go.
And you go, yeah, I think I know one. Let's, we better call her in. Right?
No, but exactly. It's just, yeah, sometimes you'll have an idea as well. And sometimes, you'll come up, mainly more if it was like film or short film or TV or whatever, you might have some crazier ideas to try out to show something different to the director, just to kind of, say, listen, I know this person, I think they're awesome.
Right.
They've got something to them. I think they could try something different with this.
Yeah.
They're
looking for a heavy or something.
A wild card kind of suggestion, I would call it.
Right. There you go.
You can't. It's harder in commercials. You can sometimes do it, but definitely with film and short film and TV, you can definitely try a bit more wild card stuff, or someone that might bring something a little different. Only because, again, it's about trusting them and knowing they're going to do a good, interesting job.
Yeah, this is where it comes in. This is where the relationship comes in handy between actor and casting director, the ongoing courtship.
Yeah, I mean, we have to trust that you're going to come in and be great, because again, that makes me look great, which means I'm doing a good job and my client is happy, and then we're all happy.
Yeah. Do you have a 3 strikes you're out rule?
No, I don't. I mean, I'll tell you, I've been burnt by actors, pal. I have been burnt by actors.
When they get on the set and they blow it?
Well, there's been that. There's been agents that have burnt you, and I try not to hold grudges because I just think life's too short. But yeah, you become wary of people if there's problems,
too
down the track, But I try to give people the benefit of the doubt as much as possible. The killer for us really is it mightn't even be as dramatic as them, effing up on set. But it might be something like they told you they're available, they've attended a recall session, and suddenly they're not available. Yeah. And then I look like an idiot to my client, and they all fall in love with this actor that they can't have and never could have.
Right.
And that's when it becomes a wee bit hard.
Yeah.
But again, I'm just thinking of the stories I used to tell actors when I used to do a lot more workshops and things. But, we don't have a list. No casting director I know has a list in their office.
Blacklist?
Yeah. And like, no, not going to see them.
The fabled blacklist?
No.
Oh,
yeah.
Good. That's good news. I thought
I mean, again, I think that's
6 or 7 of them.
Yeah, I just think that's a myth that gets kind of thrown out there that, I've been blackballed or blacklisted or whatever the phrase is.
I think I have been blacklisted a couple couple.
Really? Do you genuinely think that?
Not looked upon.
I'd be very surprised.
Maybe.
Because
there's an actor paranoia that does happen. And
that's what I mean. There is an actor paranoia about things.
Yeah.
And it's like I said earlier about, we're sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
I know that the industry is not that organized in the sense of like,
not all organized against you, Todd Kramer.
Everybody's always thinking.
That's what I mean. It's more. It's more like, because agents will have it as well. Oh, that casting director is not calling in my people. Sometimes it might be just the fact that we're working on something that your people or person isn't right for.
Yeah.
Right. So,
is that important too? The relationship between obviously the agent and the casting director. I mean,
100%.
That's even more important, I guess. Than
Todd, sorry, no, I've got my son and my wife just about to pop in, so I can close the door.
Last question.
Can we pause for 2 seconds? Is it possible to
pause?
Go. For 2 seconds, and then I can close the door and let them in? Yeah. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yes, do I need to do anything, Andy?
No. You just go. We'll do it.
Sorry, guys. 2 seconds.
I'm sorry.
You're all good, man.
We've had it happen before. Wow.
You're dying to ask this last question.
No, it's what? It's a simple question.
Okay, good. Don't ask it now.
I'll make it real easy on him.
Okay.
It's just one I've always kind of had lingering in the background.
I'm really curious.
It's a nothing question. No, it's a nothing question.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to hit him too many.
Too many fastballs.
The question is,
too many curveballs.
Why did you not push me harder on that last commercial? No, I'm just kidding.
That is exactly what I expected.
That's what you thought it was going to be. But
here's okay. I have one more question. When are you bringing me in next?
So why didn't you push the client harder
all good, dude.
on the Norwegian cruise line commercial, man?
Yeah.
No, that's not the question.
Wait.
A simple question.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just talking to Jay in the break, but I was up for something recently with Brendan, but it didn't go through. So, I don't hold a
story there, by the way.
Is there?
I shouldn't tell it. So.
Okay. You tell me.
Todd, go back to the simple question.
Well, I can tell you what I had a simple question. And I was just teasing Jay that it was going to be about this.
About him.
Yeah, which I thought I was perfect for.
You are, pal. You are.
I was, right? I mean, where are they going to find a guy that it was for Scandinavian Cruise Line? I'll tell Jay. Scandinavian Cruise Line. You and your sexy older something, kind of upper middle aged bride or girlfriend or whatever are on this cruise, and you're enjoying all the facilities and things and toasting on the deck and enjoying the spa and taking the tour and stuff like that. And I thought, oh yeah,
that's perfect.
Do I not look like a
man that would go on a cruise with his wife?
Swedish man or a Dutch man that would go on a cruise with his wife? Yeah. Anyway, I think something happened there, but
you did very well. And you were penciled. Tap yourself on the back.
Yeah, I was penciled. Yeah, I thought.
There you go.
Yeah, and then I was penciled for about 3 hours, I think, and then something came through, and I was like, "You're off the pencil now." Oh,
well, at least they got back. At least you were told that.
Well,
why? Sometimes people don't get told they're off the pencil.
100%. Yeah, that's not fair.
That's not fair.
No.
No. Last question was beach casting. Why do you call it beach casting? I never understood that.
Yeah, it's a great
question. Is there something in the name?
Yeah. So myself and my dad used to go beach casting, literally casting from the shore straight into the waves.
Like when he took you swimming.
Beach casting.
So you went fishing with your old man and
yeah, and that was it. You'd literally cast off the shore and
there it is.
pollock and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So you're a fisherman.
There you go.
Out there, instead of casting for pollock and carp and sea bass or whatever the hell, you're now casting for American
Mary Pollock and
Mary Pollock and John Seabass.
Yeah,
John Doe.
You've just changed what you're fishing for. That's great.
There you go.
Brandon, thanks so much, man.
No worries, guys. Thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, that was fun. We really got through a lot of stuff, man.
Yeah, we learned a lot. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Cool. And I'm happy to come back again, guys. If there's anything, if you wanted to do something that's more just questions about casting, I'll always give my opinion as best I can.
Yeah, okay. We can organize something maybe on a YouTube live or something. We'll figure out.
Yeah, or if people send you in questions, I don't mind. I'll do my best to answer them. I'll give an opinion.
Ask anything.
Yeah, there you go.
Good man. Go be with your wife and child.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Pleasure. Good to meet you,
buddy.
pal.
Yeah, we'll keep you in touch with when Jay gets an agent. You can find.
Here you go. Brilliant.
There he goes. Brendan McNamara. Cheers. Oh, thanks, buddy. Woo. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up real quick. Because that was a whole
wealth.
lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. A wealth of info. Yeah.
Yeah. I love the whole the child actor thing and all the stories there and the kind of how he got into it and fell into it and then the help from Hubbard's was amazing. Like, geez.
And so like it's just so true
thing.
how like everything like happens at one time.
Yeah.
You know?
At some point in his life, he was just like, I'm in the entertainment industry now.
I'm in the
all
world.
Of a sudden,
This is
what is he, 19? And he's just like, I just work in the entertainment industry. I study it. I work in it on both sides of the camera. My friends are all in it. The people, my supporters and everybody except my family and stuff. So that's just interesting and odd and unique for a kid from Limerick. But anyway, grateful to have him. We won't. Oh man, that's a long one. Again, we have a nice long podcast. So
we have.
Any last words?
Faith and
Bicora.
No.
Yeah.
Say what?
I don't know. That was some Irish stuff.
What did you say?
I said thank you for joining us here on the Offstage Acting Podcast. Special thanks to our guest, Brendan McNamara. Check out the book. It's the Audition, stupid. Jay, you're a delight. Go back out and enjoy the sunshine. There's still a little bit left.
Thanks, Boo. Hope you do too.
Thank you, buddy. And we'll see you next time on the Offstage Acting Podcast.
Bye.
Keep acting. Did you have fun?
Yeah, that was good. It was good. Yeah, a bit of reminiscing, which
I
wasn't expecting, to be honest.
Trip down memory lane.